What up, naughty steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here with another review for you on the Nawtystep channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the new compilation from Disciple Records, Alliance Volume 4. Disciple Records is a predominantly dubstep label owned by Rob Talbott, one half of Dodge Fuski, and Ross Burr, also known as Myro. One of the heavyweight collectives of the dubstep genre that has been a home to producers such as Virtual Riot and Barely Alive as they've made their ascent towards dubstep superstardom. A label that in recent times has seen itself branch out to accommodate other styles beyond the BROSTEP oriented stuff that catapulted it to dubstep fame around 4 or 5 years ago. Taking on artists such as Truth, Eliminate and Ulasile, all of whom are known for delivering dubstep in completely new and adventurous ways from the norm. Whether it be trap-led, underground or more RIDDIM inspired, Disciple is a label undoubtedly on a mission to represent a wide array of different dark electronic music approaches, which is what made this latest compilation so interesting going into it. Not only are there so many other artists in their roster now, meaning that it's a much bigger compilation than the last one, coming in at 16 tracks, whereas Volume 3 was just 5. But the sheer diversity on show here is something that, on paper at least, would keep you engaged from start to finish, each producer having their own particular thing. Also, it has been nearly 2 years since the last Alliance compilation was released, so the hype and anticipation for this one was pretty mad. Now, when it comes to compilation reviews, I normally try to find patterns between the available songs before coming to some general conclusions by the end. But seeing as I was requested to review each track individually, then that's what I will be doing. Makes sense to review them in that equal way, to be honest. A lot of tracks to get through, so I'll just be identifying my main points with each one, as well as some moments that I felt noticeably worked, and others not so much. And so, without further ado, let's crack on with the first track from Alliance Volume 4, Get Lemon by Disciple. And yes, that is exactly what it sounds like, because this is a track on which pretty much every artist from the compilation has their say. On YouTube, it's literally called Get Lemon featuring too many artists to list because of YouTube's character limit. I mean, that's decent banter. The only ones to my mind that aren't on this track are Murder, The Others and Infect, so it's pretty jam-packed. The vocal samples are absolutely brilliant. Not the most ambitious ideas here, but it's a fantastic thing having a song go off in so many different directions over its course. A really good way to start the compilation as this presentation of what Disciple is now, this assortment of really different producers. Sometimes it's difficult to make out who's doing what at each point, but others where the input of a particular artist is very clear. I can easily spot the Virtual Riot in there, Barely Alive, Phase 1, Fox Stevenson, Dodge Fuski, and it's great when you can so clearly identify who's doing what at specific points. Definitely interested as to how this would have worked in terms of creating the track. I can't imagine it was easy at all. Meaning that I'm not expecting anything great from this track in terms of quality, in spite of how many great musicians are on this tune. Ultimately, I think it's a wonderful idea and just a very fun track in looking for the moments when each producer has their input. Shout out to this guy though for trying to pick out where each artist comes in. Sure is difficult, but he or she had a right good go. Next up we have the three-way collaboration between Modestep, Barely Alive and Virtual Riot, By My Side, which pairs a pleasantly ethereal Virtual Riot throwback EP opening with one of the more favourable Modestep vocals of the recent past in my opinion. I really like its place within the introduction and build. Interesting to see what kind of avenues Modestep go down now, having signed to Disciple, how that will affect their production, which is hard to tell on this initial track from them for the label because of the fact that Barely Alive and Virtual Riot are also involved. I enjoy the musicality of the heavier parts here, but the dubstep itself doesn't quite throw me. Something about the interaction between the components that makes it come across as not enough going on. However, the progression to the first drop is nuts. More seemingly going on, lots of flavour, the aggression directed in a more genuine way. All in all, a track with lots going on, some bits working and others not so much. Moving on to the collaboration between 12th Planet and Phase 1, a collaboration that I must say I never saw coming or expected, but to be honest, this thing is just fiery as fuck. Really enjoying the moody musicality of this one, sets a scene really well, verges on the epic, scary almost. The drops are mighty, huge, frightening, exactly what you would want from these two. The force of it takes you off your seat. Although the drums between certain sequences aren't that on point, the vocal samples are horrifying, the overall feel is hard to resist, holding you in its grasp. Slight Space Laces feel to some of the heavier parts here actually, particularly the second drop. Could do with a little bit more spice at points, but you're always going to have some drawbacks with a collaboration. I'm just happy these guys came together to work. Virtual Riot's solo track Dogfights goes down a dreamy route in classically mellow Virtual Riot fashion. Not quite show up midsection levels of quality here, but it's still astutely done. The drop is hard hitting, taking straight from German engineering with a little bit more spice. I love those belching sounds in the progression from the first release. And a vocal sample from the one and only Flex Caliber. I mean, shout out to him for making it on this track, man. Honestly, well deserved. Something about the timing of this drop in terms of the amount of bars that are present that doesn't quite sit right, catches you slightly off guard in that respect. Brings together both his brutal and his chilled styles. Interesting that it doesn't have a second drop either. Could have been built on, but the way it draws to a musical close turns out to be quite intriguing. Flickers of brilliance here, but it doesn't really verge on the incredible stuff he's capable of. It's more like a filler than a statement maker from him. Next we have a vintage, vibrant Dodge Fuski track, which seemingly puts together every era from their production history. It's got experimental, quirky bits, musicality, and more outright heavier parts that you would associate with Rob's solo work as Dodge. Wouldn't say there's much here where everything coheres. There's a lot of thrown together sounds willy-nilly. And I enjoy the snappiness and colour of the introduction, but overall, not really my cup of tea, to be honest. A bit wide of the mark for them. Now, my aim was to listen to this compilation without looking at the track listing, so that I could try and guess who each song was by. The sixth tune here from Fox Stevenson being Milan Away the easiest to guess, because it is so distinctively him. From the emotionally wrought introduction, the vocal, even the style of production, like the drums are so clearly his. Building on the foundation of similar sounding tracks from the recent past, such as Miss You and Out on My Own. And I like this one again as an extension of that style, the honest, matter-of-fact lyrics, the fruity dubstep, the simple backdrop. And whilst I don't like Peace of Mind as much as Miss You and Out on My Own, I'm enjoying the infectiousness of this style generally with each new track. On the basis of not wanting to know who produced each track, the grungy, rock-inspired intro to the next one left me confused because Phase 1's had already been. Got to the point around halfway through where I just had to cheat and check because it doesn't leave many clues, and in a good way. The contained start to the drop, which I feel could have been let go a bit more, doesn't really strike me as Panda Eyes at all. Neither do those stabbing sections, the complete polar opposite to what precedes it, but also not much like him in their veracity. Either way, the seizure-inducing nature of these sequences I do really enjoy. Overall, there's a really nice management of space here, little bit unsure of itself at points, but there are loads of naughty sounds on show. Also, the second drop is a fantastic switch up, really feeling that tempo change, the staggered nature of it. Top notch. Probably one of my favourites on the compilation, properly gets me going. Then we have the Barely Alive solo track, albeit only on a production level, as the legends that are Virus Syndicate announced themselves on the scene to spray some gnarly bars. Although in reality, at the start Virus Syndicate don't have that much to show for themselves. Kinda wish they'd gone on more of a vocal rampage at the beginning of this track. The dubstep, moreover, is just a bit too stop-start, Some good moments here and there, but not quite enough going on. And those high-pitched notes, I'm just not getting along with them. The staple barely alive growls are the saving grace here, as well as the extended vocal part for Virus Syndicate, and the overall neatness of the sound design as per. And it's nice to hear their sound in a different way once again. I'm all for musicians experimenting and trying new things out, but I'm not sure here that you have either Barely Alive or Virus Syndicate at the peak of their powers. The 9th track from Murder is just pure industrial filth, some good vocal samples littered in amongst the metallic RIDDIM, which is standard for Murder. Goes on a bit too much without changing it up enough, quite incessant in its delivery. Not my type of dubstep, really. I suppose that's what RIDDIM is. This isn't a comment on the genre generally, but this song in particular seems to tick the boxes in terms of what I don't like about it. I do really enjoy the transition from the intro to the build, that groaning sound into the intricate percussion. Very neatly done. But fundamentally it's just too repetitive and lacking in flavour for my liking. And the RIDDIM continues with Ulasal's contribution, feeling the intro here, swelling and contracting in this pulsating neon sort of way, taking a very sinewy, creepy turn into the build, which is very well managed with that unsettling 5 vocal sample going off in the background. And regarding the dubstep, again the incessancy I'm not sure I enjoy, but it's the kind of track that reveals more and more to you as it goes along, and I want to find out more. Very shiny, bright, almost glitchy, typical of him, a lot more sounds on show to take your attention off in different directions. It's very extraterrestrial. Someone who is praised for his sound design, most evident here when something comes out of nowhere to surprise you. All the little change-ups in tempo and sound usage help to push it over the line. Otherwise, again, it wouldn't have that much to offer beyond its layering abilities. Another number that wasn't too hard to guess without looking at the track listing is the 11th one from Eliminate, entitled Disco. Got that windy, stretchy, pointed intro, zips and zaps aplenty with a really serious beat and a dainty high-pitched vocal to boot. It's an Eliminate track. Those cutesy, whipped, twisted sounds are classic him now, ensuring the sound goes in and out of consciousness, coming to the surface before going back down for more. Not as good as other recent stuff of his, not as much variety as usual, the sounds becoming a bit grating after a while, those twisted sounds just get a bit much. But so distinctively him, he has his thing now, the cuts, breaks and transitions between sequences are always so on point. Next we have a track from the others, the horn-led intro of which I can't say I'm all that mad about. Makes me feel a bit weird, to be honest. Going into the drop, which comes somewhat out of nowhere, it has the prospects of a good idea, but the construction of it overall is just a bit weak. Haphazardly put together with the definition of a lot of the sounds not being quite there. I enjoy the relationship between those pinpoint notes in the drops, but there's no real sense of build towards them, as I said, very much coming out of nowhere, and they don't sound that refined in and of themselves. And although there's a nice moment of isolation for those notes in the second drop, again the dubstep here is just a bit empty and lacking, struggling to find much going for this one. Infect's track The Elephant teases you in with its enchanting Middle Eastern opening sequence before the drop slams in out of nowhere. I'm feeling these frazzled sounds a fair bit, pretty naughty. Could have done with less going on in the background during the drops, but the force of the overall sound isn't lost that much. Also feel like those sounds are so effective that he could have run with those drawn out ones even more in the progression to make the heavier parts more enduring. By the end there's an extent to which it goes on for a little too long, but there's variety enough here, another RIDDIM track with a decent amount going for it. We are then welcomed by a spacey, dreamy, outer-worldly opening from Hatcher, subsuming you as the bass kicks in around 25 seconds into the tune. The dubstep here being a wavy collection of old school sounds, from underground stuff relating to the origins of the genre, and other bits you'd associate more with Roscoe. It's a good mix, the contrast between sounds taking you off your seat somewhat. The second drop building on that in enthralling fashion, unexpected, as if the track's being unleashed, Again, the dynamic between individual sounds here is very well executed. Stuff that's more in your face alongside other moments that are more underwater sounding. Not exceptional ideas wise, but a very nice concept and blend of styles. Penultimately, we have the compilation being toned down with Truth, which opens exactly as you would expect from them. Gloomy, spooky, murky, subtly threatening, telling a story through its musical direction, somewhere off in the distance lurking towards you. Sounding slightly more present in the heavier parts, not as subtle and more intent on those parts, being more impactful. Unfortunately, however, I would say that this aspect of the song drones on a bit. I like the sway of it, but it doesn't have that much to offer. Not my type of dubstep by any means. Usually I really enjoy being immersed in this type of music, but with this one going beyond that in terms of the intensity of the sounds, I don't feel as relaxed when listening to it. Resultantly, it lies in a weird position, not quite being low-key enough, but also not supplying enough, having made that jump for the music to be more present. A good way, however, of winding down the compilation before Myro has his say on Alliance Volume 4's final track, Keep On Rockin'. And true to its title, it does exactly that. It has the energy and interplay between different elements that you would expect from a Myro track, but just a bit mellower. It cracks on. Appropriate end for the compilation in drawing it to a close. Really nice vibe to it. Nothing jumping out at you, but that's its purpose within the context of the compilation. As I said, a nice blend of energetic and chilled. Got those juicy notes in the progressions to the drops as well, to give it that extra bit of gleam and appeal. But yeah, if you go into this one not expecting to be wowed, then it constitutes as a lovely beat, which is easy going and great to rock along to. Keep on rockin', kids! Now, overall with this compilation, would I say it was worth a near 2-year wait from one Alliance volume to the next? Maybe just about. I think it's a compilation of good ideas rather than moments per se, bits of experimentation that are welcomed, but not necessarily executed in the best of ways. And to be honest, it is pretty cool seeing so many different producers come together for one project. Let alone the fact that basically all of them come together to produce one track in Get Lemon. Not the most enthralling listen from start to finish. It's a mixed bag which experiences a multitude of peaks and troughs throughout, but you're always bound to get that with a compilation. It's very difficult putting one together with so many different approaches to one style of music. But if diversity is the one thing that you're looking for with a compilation, then this would be a good place to start. Followed quickly after that by Issue 1 by Audio Records. And lastly, favourites for me to pick from this compilation would have to be Get Lemon, the 12th Planet and Phase 1 collaboration, and the Panda Eyes track. And so that is that for another review on the Nawtystep channel, this time of the new compilation from Disciple Records, Alliance Volume 4. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. Be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on Alliance Volume 4. What did you guys make of it overall? Do you have a favourite track from the 16? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload to the Nawtystep channel. Next to my head there should be some other reviews from the channel, compilations and also some other Disciple reviews. So if you enjoyed this one, then be sure to check those out too. Don't forget to like and follow Nawtystep across social media if you haven't already, the links to which are in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure as always to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.